Hi, this is Hamada and welcome to Final 50, where I travel to the last 50 countries on Earth. And today we want to do a behind the scenes of Uzbekistan so that you can understand how to maximize your time in the country, especially if you have a limited budget with limited time. So let's get started. So this journey in Central Asia was to follow the Silk Route. So I started in Kyrgyzstan, then Tajikistan, and then finally Uzbekistan. Now I was in Khujan, Tajikistan, when I was trying to make my way to Uzbekistan. And the way that you do that is you catch a taxi from Khujan to the border for about $20 or so. And then at the border, they drop you off. You go through the customs, you go through the process, check your passport and so forth. And then you get onto the Uzbekistan side, where then you take a taxi to the capital of Tashkent. And that takes about an hour and a half. And again, it's about $15, $20. Super simple, not that complicated. I got stuck a little bit on the border because there was a ton of people ahead of me trying to get processed and go through. But typically it was very, very smooth. I got through the whole process from Khujan to Tashkent in about 2.5, 3 hours. Definitely worth it and a lot cheaper than trying to fly between the two countries. So in terms of transportation in Uzbekistan, there is a lot of option. In the capital, Tashkent, you can use taxis. Also, there's Yandex, which is like the Uber of Uzbekistan, and the metro system, which connects all the city together with a plethora of different lines. And I love the metro system because not only is it really efficient and super cheap, but each station is beautiful in its own right. They're historic. They kind of capture all the different history and elements and beauty of Uzbekistan. So it's a sight to see in and of itself. So I definitely recommend checking out the metro system and using it just to kind of get around as well. Now, I traveled between Tashkent, Khiva, Bukhara, and Samarkand over the course of my time in Uzbekistan. So when I was traveling between the main cities, initially I used Flight, a cheap airline, to go between Tashkent and Khiva, which was very, very efficient as well. But between Khiva, Bukhara, I had to take a local train because they didn't have really many other options. You can take a car, but it takes about 8 hours. So you really are just kind of stuck with a train, and it's a local train. So just kind of get ready for a major inconvenience. But the beauty of it is from Bukhara to Samarkand and from Samarkand back to Tashkent, you can take the bullet train, the fast train, which is really remarkable, super, super comfortable. I really liked it, very efficient, very safe, and you can get between the cities within 2.5 to 3 hours all the way through. So lots of options throughout each city in Uzbekistan. And also, let me just add, in Samarkand, there's all kinds of really cool ways to kind of get around the city. Bicycles, there's those, the kind of things look like a Flintstone mobile where you can kind of pedal with someone else and looks like a kind of golf car. There's golf cars there. There's all kinds of different things that you can use to get around the city because it's historic, it's small, so everything is really kind of within walking distance or biking distance for Samarkand as well. In terms of hotels and logistics, in the capital, I wanted to kind of stay in a more modern place right in the smack middle of town, which actually worked out very well because I was able to meet Mirjalol, who became a very good friend of mine and was able to kind of take me around in Tashkent and also in Samarkand. So you can also meet receptionists and kind of meet locals that way. But in terms of hotels, in Tashkent, I stayed more of in a modern hotel. When I got to Bukhara, I decided to kind of stay more near the center of town, which really, really was beautiful because I didn't realize that my hotel was so smack in the middle of the old town that I was able to walk around and really kind of feel as if I'm, back in the past. So that's what I did in Bukhara. In Samarkand, I also stayed in an old hotel. I kind of switched hotels, but Samarkand, the first hotel I stayed in was called Bibi Khanim, which is next to the mosque, and it is absolutely stunning in terms of the architecture and the proximity to the Bibi Khanim Mosque. Really, really an absolutely beautiful place. And later I kind of moved to another hotel, kind of get a different perspective as well. But my advice to you is, if you're going to these older historic cities, stay in the city centers. Like especially in Khiva, I didn't stay there overnight, but it's like an open air museum. So you want to stay right in the old part of town so that you can kind of explore it at night and then just go back to your hotel as opposed to leaving the city walls. And the same with Bukhara and the same with Samarkand. So stay in the city in terms of the different hotel options that you want to check out. Also, in terms of safety, I felt extremely safe in Uzbekistan. Honestly, I can't think of any time I didn't feel safe. Even in the trains, felt very safe. So I wouldn't worry too much about that in terms of safety, at least for me. Clothing Always have some clothes for modesty because you're going to be going to mosques and different religious places, so you may have to have some things to cover up. But typically in the summertime it gets really, really hot. In the winter, obviously gets very, very cold. So have a change of clothes also, just in case. But typically it's pretty temperate throughout the major cities I went to, because I went to in the summer. In terms of money, tons of ATM options, tons of exchange places, so I really wouldn't worry about it. You can use your credit card in most places in Uzbekistan. No issues there. And in terms of cost, for me in Uzbekistan, the costs were awesome. I wasn't as cheap as Kyrgyzstan or Tajikistan, but definitely it was reasonable compared to any place in Western Europe on the whole. So you'll get great meals, public transportation, hotel options, everything is like at least 30 to 50 to 60% less than what you would expect in a place like France or England or somewhere else like that. So definitely costs are fairly low in Uzbekistan. Your dollar will take you very far. Okay, so in terms of planning for the trip, initially, as I said, I had about 5 days in Uzbekistan. So I had to think through like, what did I want to maximize? Now there's places that are way out there to explore, kind of much more natural and so forth, but I really wanted to see more of the historic side. Now I got to Tashkent with the idea that I was only going to kind of stay there overnight and leave, but I ended up staying 2 days there, and there's tons and tons of things to see, whether it's historic, modern. It really kind of brings together an amalgamation of Uzbekistani history. So I would definitely recommend spending more than a day in Tashkent. There's a lot to see there, at least I'd say 2 to 3 days. Khiva, unfortunately, I blitzed through it. I didn't spend as much time as I wanted to. I got there in the morning and left in the evening. If I could do it again, I would have at least spent the night, especially in the old town, and explored it, because I think even in summertime, it's just so beautiful kind of walk around and see. And I'll talk a little bit more about the highlights of each place. Bukhara, I spent a night there. I would spend 2 nights there if I had it up to me, because there's just a lot to see. But I was able to pack a lot in there in the 24 hours I spent in Bukhara. Saw quite a bit, but I would probably spend an extra day if I can. And then finally in Samarkand, that's really where you want to spend the bulk of your time, because there's a lot to see there as well. But I spent about 2 days there. I would say 2 to 3 days would suffice to really get a sense of Samarkand. And then the transportation, you got to factor that in, because as I said, between Bukhara and Khiva, it's literally 8 hours by slow train or by car, and there's not many planes that go between those areas. So just kind of think about that when you're making the plans to see it. I would say at least 7 days in Uzbekistan to see those major cities. Okay, let me give you a couple of highlights of the main cities that I went to. In Tashkent, I would, again, definitely see the metro system. I would go to the mosque, the main Manor Mosque, which was absolutely beautiful. The food in Tashkent is remarkable. There's so many amazing options for polof and a lot of the unique foods there. I would definitely walk around like the main square with Amin Timur statue, the main boulevards. There's an area there that I really, really like, especially at night, especially in summertime, so you can get a really good feel of not just kind of walking around the city, but seeing how the Uzbeks really kind of, enjoy their town, enjoy, the spirit there. You get the music, you get the, just really cool vibes. So Tashkent's a really, really nice kind of, as I said, amalgamation of different things that you can do in Uzbekistan, really in one beautiful city. In terms of Khiva, where I went as well, old historic city, one of the oldest in the country. And again, what you really want to do there is, I did it self-guided, probably good to get a guide. I just kind of went through it, read Wikipedia, read different articles and blogs to kind of get a sense of what I was seeing, and went to the main attractions. Definitely worth it. There's a couple of really cool restaurants that have an overview of the city. Those are some of the main highlights, as well as one of the mosques that I went to had something like 218 or something like wooden pillars. Really, really unique way of kind of seeing the Islamic culture of Uzbekistan, especially historically. Remember, this is the Silk Route, so people were going through there, Mongolians to Chinese, Russians, Turks, Persians, Arabs, Afghans, all going through these areas and bringing with them their own historical traditions and cultural ways and traditions. So each one of these cities really kind of became symbolic of that amalgamation of different historical traditions along the Silk Route, and Khiva definitely was one of those places. Bukhara was really remarkable. I definitely got a guide for that one, because what I wanted to do is kind of anchor what I was learning from a local's perspective and a local historian's perspective, so that I'm not kind of going passively and kind of stumbling into these monuments. So I had an awesome guide who kind of showed me around and really gave me the nuances. And there I was able to connect what I saw in Khiva and in Tashkent to what she was telling me, as well as obviously in Bukhara. And there's some beautiful, beautiful places. There's an incredible minaret in one side of the city next to these two madrasas that kind of face off. I was super lucky to have caught it during prayer time, which was just so remarkable, just really a beautiful, beautiful feeling during that period of the day. And just some other things that you'll see, there's historically, really is a confluence of different religions. Historically, there was Jews that lived in Bukhara that had been there for time immemorial. Obviously Muslims, Christians, a lot of different religions kind of went through there, and just a very beautiful place. And what they also had that I really loved was these different domes. And under each dome, they had a different type of commerce, whether it was hat making or jewelry making or exchanges for finance and money. So there was a lot to see there in Bukhara. So as I said, spend a couple of days there. Finally, the pearl of the Muslim world, Samarkand. I cannot tell you how much time I spent in one particular place, and it's called the Rajasthan. It's right smack in the middle. Yes, it's where all the tourists go. Yes, it's where all the Instagrammers want to go and take pictures. But wow, it is absolutely beautiful. Go during the day, get a sense of it, but at night it's magical. They have light shows there, music and so forth. But it was there from the 1400s, and there's several madrasas that kind of face each other, these schools, these theological schools. And in the middle of the square is where they had all kinds of commerce and trade for years, for like thousands and thousands of years. So it's such a beautiful place to kind of come together. Also, it's where Emir Timur is buried, is another side of Samarkand. And there's just so much to see there historically, because Emir Timur, Timur Lane, put so much time and effort into building this place back up and resurrecting kind of the renaissance of the Muslim world, of that period of time, of that place in the world along the Silk Route. So really, Samarkand is a place you want to spend at least 2 to 3 days to really get a beautiful sense of that area. Well, I hope you enjoyed this behind the scenes of Uzbekistan. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. I'm trying to create a community here where I definitely want to know what you're thinking. Give me advice for my future trips there, and I'm more than happy to respond to any kind of inquiries or questions that you may have about my trip to Uzbekistan. In the meantime, check out the vlog that really we broke it up into 2 parts, a part 1 and a part 2, that really kind of encompasses this whole journey through Uzbekistan. Really one of my favorite countries that I've been to and experienced, especially along the Silk Route. Obviously, I also have a blog that also details everything there, so you definitely have a lot of information that we can share with you. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Stay curious, and I look forward to seeing you on my next journey.